Welcome, everyone. Glad you could come today. This is Sylvia Herzog. You are joining us for our second webinar in our COVID-19 webinar series, Addressing Your Customers' Changing Needs, which we have put together primarily for sustainable charcoal briquette producers. We are very happy to have you here today. If you want to, Ellen, go to the next slide, I can start the introductions. First of all, for those, I think most of you on the call so far know me, but just to give you a brief introduction to who we are and why we're doing this. I am Sylvia Herzog, Director of the Charcoal Project. We are a nonprofit based in New York, but focused firmly on East Africa, helping clean energy companies find sustainable solutions to the unsustainable problem of traditional charcoal that is used and produced heavily in East Africa. So that is how we got involved with so many sustainable charcoal briquette producers, and why we are trying to help producers who are suffering from COVID-19 restrictions. So in addition to the Charcoal Project, I just want to give a shout out to our partners at MIT D-Lab, who work with us on a lot of different topics. Dan Sweeney is on the call today from D-Lab. Also wanted to mention that this is co-hosted by United Briquette Producers Association. If you're not a member of UBPA and you live in Kenya, you should be, because it's a great resource for sharing and getting everyone together on these topics. Finally, I want to introduce our presenter today, who is Ellen Finn from Accenture Brand Learning. Ellen has a very deep background in branding and marketing. She's worked with some really famous brands like Nivea. She is also very familiar with the sector. She participated in our ASHES 2018 convening that we had held in Naivasha, Kenya. We are very happy to have her here today to help us focus on how to do marketing in this tough environment because of COVID-19. So thank you, Ellen, for joining us. We're very excited to have you, and I'm sure you'll be a familiar face to a number of the people here on the call. I guess we can go to the next slide to do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, regarding the webinar, it will be recorded. Your microphone and video will be shut off so that we have uninterrupted transmission. But afterwards, we'll be happy to send you the recording as well as the slide presentations, which we did last time as well when we did the first webinar. If you have questions, please post them in the chat box, and they'll be answered at the end, or if something's particularly compelling, I might interrupt Ellen with a question, but happy to answer as many questions as you can. I see everybody introducing themselves over the chat box. That's great. You know, if everyone gives their permission, I'm also happy to share the list of attendees when we share the other materials from the presentation. So one interesting thing that we'll be doing during this is using a tool called Mentimeter. Ellen, you want to switch to the next slide? So Mentimeter it's like an online survey tool, and basically what we do is we pose a question, and then you go online to this survey site and answer, and then we quickly look at what everybody's answers to the questions are. This way we can kind of ideate and get the group's response without having to go through all the difficulty of unmuting and muting and raising hands and everything else for everyone. So basically there's a couple of different ways to get onto Mentimeter. You can just go onto your browser. If you're on your phone, your Zoom call will stay intact. If you just go on your browser, type this in, and then type in this code. until we do the first question, you won't be live, but once we do the first question, you'll see. Or if you're on your computer and you want to take a picture of this QR code with your phone, that's another way to get into it through your phone. And then finally, there is an app you could download called Mentimeter that you can log into that way as well. And again, put in the code to get into this page. So with that, I think we're going to start off with a question to get you guys familiar with this and give it a go. So let's everybody log in to Mentimeter and tell us which country you're in. And that'll give us a sense of who's coming in from where. And I'm going to do the same thing so that I know it works. Taking a picture with my phone.
Good. 5 people. It's already provided info, so going strong.
Yeah, this is good. Okay, I'm admitting more people are joining. They'll be a little late. If you just joined the webinar, we are trying out our Mentimeter function. So please go on to Mentimeter and tell us which country you're from. We'll give everyone a few minutes to try it out.
We've got 7 responses so far, Sylvia. How many folks are on the phone now?
I think we have 13 now.
Okay. Give it another minute. If anyone's having a problem with Mentimeter, put your comment in the chat box and I'll try to figure out what's wrong. Okay, look, here we are. So we have at least 7 people figured it out. So that's good. But obviously Dan didn't do it because I don't see him on there. So Yeah.
So that's great. So we have half and half Kenya, half Uganda so far. That's about what I expected. Great to see everybody. I'm sure we'll have a bigger mix as we go forward. So we're going to do one more and get a little more practice at this. You know, I've been talking to all of you. I know Dan's been talking to all of you, and just like it's tough in the US, it's been tough there in East Africa, and very difficult times for the business. So we just want to hear how you're feeling. How are you feeling about your business? This question is a sliding scale. So just give us an idea of, you know, how things are going with your business. Are you hopeful, or are you really discouraged? And just get a sense of how the crowd's doing. Still have more people joining.
Okay.
If you've just joined, if you could please try to get on Mentimeter and answer this question. Someone has got their video on. I'm going
With Tony.
I'll just stop her video.
Okay, Tony, it was good to see you.
Yeah. Lithonia, just stopped your video for a minute. We'll put it back on when we get to you.
I don't have any responses yet. I'm wondering if people are having a problem with this one. Is it showing up okay?
Problem with this? It says no text box for any. Yeah, Beatrice, it's a sliding scale. You just move the scale with your finger. If you're on your phone or with your with your mouse. Maybe this one's too tough.
Yeah, there's no slider for me either. It's just, I'm just getting the question and then it says submit. How are
Oh,
you feeling about your business? And then just the
there's no
submit bar.
slider? Oh, okay, all right, well, this is why we're trying things out. Okay, so everybody, if you could just put in the chat box, how are you, 2 words, how are you feeling about your business? Does everybody know how to use the chat function on this? It's you go to the participants and there's a chat feature. Most of you have already put something in. So far I have hopeful, improvising. Waiting for a few more.
Yep.
Now we know the slider doesn't work so well. It's the only one we use with the slider though, so it's okay. Hopeful and resilient, says Beatrice. It's good. Expectant, that's Ziwa. Shannon says tough, but I'm hopeful.
Hey, Sylvia.
Hey, Ziwa. I think it was Ziwa.
Hey, Sylvia, I'm just asking, is this main is it can it be a web-based if I'm using it on my computer?
Yeah, Jairus, yeah, yes, it can be web-based. You can just go to menti.com and plug in the code.
Okay.
But on this particular question that we asked, it turned out that the slider wasn't worked. So you could just type in how you're feeling in the chat box.
Okay.
Low, but not giving up. Good.
Not giving up, that's good.
Tough, but hopeful, yep.
Anybody else? Okay, so it's probably all we're getting for now, but thanks guys for participating. It sounds like most of you are feeling challenged, but still hopeful that things can turn around and optimistic about the future, which is great. So with that, I'm going to turn this over now to Ellen, and she's going to take it from here.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here with some of you again and to meet the rest of you. The responses that you gave are very typical to what we're hearing from all of our clients, big and small. So, you know, it is this kind of balance of dealing with the immediate issues, but remaining hopeful and really trying to turn this time into an opportunity and preparing ourselves for the days ahead. So that's what we're going to do here today for the next 45 minutes or so. First, we're going to spend some time stepping back and assessing the situation and really taking a look at the whole of what's happening with our businesses. And then we're going to talk about 5 things that we should be doing to address the changing customer needs that are happening as a result of COVID. And as Sylvia said, definitely leaving some time for Q&A, but put your questions in the chat boxes, and if appropriate, we'll bring it in in the middle of the conversation as well, because this is really about what you want to get out of it. So please participate in that chat box. And we've got some more mentees coming your way as well. So as I said, let's first start by stepping back. At times like this, we tend to get so focused on the fires that we have to put out on a daily basis and the problems that seem to be just insurmountable that may be confronting us, at the moment. But it's really important to step back and look at the whole picture, look at the holistic situation that we're actually dealing with. Just like this painting, if you have a little close-up of this, all you see is a bunch of blurry dots and you get kind of confused and you don't see, the forest for the trees. You don't really see what the whole picture is. So let's pull back for a moment and really think about our holistic business. And one way we do that, and I'd recommend that you guys do this with your businesses, is by doing a situation analysis. Just look at the entire situation. And one way to do it in a rather easy and structured approach, we call the 6 C's. So you just step back and you think about what's happening in all of these areas, both what the reality is today and what the implications are for you in these areas. So we think about what's happening with your company or your brand, what's happening in the context of the world around you, societal, economic, political, in this case, regarding the healthcare. The customer, what's happening with your customers, what's happening with the category, the larger category than your business, the entire category of fuel, what's happening with your competition, those that are directly impacting your business, and what's happening with the channels, the way that you communicate, the way that you can get your message across. So by thinking of the 6 C's, you're assured to really, have that holistic view and to not be so focused on one area that you're potentially ignoring things that are happening in the others that may actually provide an opportunity or a path forward. So what we've done with the help of a couple of the folks on the call today is we've created some situation analyses, and we're going to go through those quickly and then have you as a colleagues kind of feed in on what potentially some of the solutions are. So Muthoni was kind enough to give us some background of her industry, of her business rather, and she is on the call, but I'm going to just quickly kind of paraphrase the situation analysis that she helped us create. So Muthoni's company is Untitled Ventures, and this is a briquette distributor based outside of Nairobi. And so as a distributor, she is reliant on her providers, on her on manufacturers to provide the actual briquettes to her. Of course, quite an issue today because of the transportation restrictions around Nairobi. Her customers are largely small institutions and schools in a rather urban setting. So she really is relying on these customers that are closed right now. And while there are dates for them to open, it's really unsure when that's going to happen. Muthoni does have other customers. She's got less of her business focused on households and chicken farmers. But that's not where the main customer base is right now. It's a time when people are using other fuel sources, with charcoal briquettes being perhaps difficult to find or a little bit expensive at this time. And, we do have competition coming in from those other fuel sources. Regarding the channels, her customers, these smaller institutions and schools, have smartphones and use WhatsApp. So that's very, very important for communications there. Social media, maybe not so much with her household customers, and the company itself, is not really aggressive in terms of having that Facebook presence or a website. So with this sort of big picture of what's going on with Untitled Ventures and Muthoni's business, we focused in on, well, what's something that really is pretty critical that we really pay attention to right now with all of this happening. And speaking to Muthoni, we kind of circled and came up with this real immediate need to think about how she can shift her focus to new customers. So Muthoni, I wondered if you could just say a couple of words about your issues and the focus that you have now on a certain set of customers and where you may have to move in the future.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
All right. So you've probably given a basic analysis of where I'm at and where I should go. So what I can just reiterate is that I need to get new customers, different kind of customers other than the ones that I've been looking for. That would be household and maybe farmers, those who need it for heating. The other thing would be to
Oh dear, we just lost you.
Sorry.
Just repeat your last few words, yeah.
Okay. The other strategy would be to re-strategize on my marketing, because I've been basically doing referrals and giving samples, going to the institutes, because institutes it's easier to go. But now since that is not possible, I need to re-strategize into doing social media marketing. I don't know if that sums it up.
That's great. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what we'd like now is we'd like to go to your colleagues
Yes.
and kind of expand on that. So again, with Menti, if you could go back on, let me show the next question is, what can Mathoni do to attract new customer segments like households and chicken farms? So as you just said, you know, if you want to get to these new customers, but feels that you might need to get more involved in social media and find some new marketing tactics to do so, I'd like to ask your group here to feed in on that. So yeah, I can see, yeah, perfect. So one person has already provided a response, and I'm gonna present those as we're talking.
If you were in the, if you just went back to the browser that you were in before, it'll ask if you want to see a new slide, and you just click that and it shows you the new slide.
So as one person has responded, as we're having other people respond, whoever wrote ask for referrals, could you tell us a little bit what you're thinking about asking for referrals? Who are they asking and how are you asking?
Okay, that was me.
Oh.
I was basically suggesting that she go to existing customers and ask them to give her referrals in exchange for, you know, maybe some kind of small incentive, you know,
Great.
extra briquettes or you know, a discount or something like that, just as an incentive for them to give someone else's phone number and recommendation. Great,
great. I think that point about incentives is important. You know, you want to show your appreciation for this, especially at a time like this. People have a lot on their mind, so the first thing isn't to think necessarily about providing referrals, but if you really show that you care about them. Display her products on the open air markets near her, targeting households. Absolutely. Make yourself visible. So who wrote that? And you want to say a couple of words? I don't know if Sylvia has to let somebody off of mute there. Is everybody still there? Hello?
Yeah.
Sylvia?
Is it open for everyone?
Possibly. Can folks hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
I'm asking
we
if it's
can.
open for everyone.
Possibly share your products via WhatsApp group. I think that's a great idea. We're going to talk about WhatsApp a little bit more. What does somebody mean about share your products via WhatsApp? I feel we've lost Sylvia.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll just if Ellen asks about your comment, you can just unmute yourself and say something.
I see. I didn't know if you had to unmute them. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think they can just unmute themselves.
Okay.
If they can't, then please just put a message in the chat box. But also, Ellen, one other comment that was in the chat box was lower prices.
Okay. Okay. So we'll get to the lower prices in a second, and that's probably very, very valid. And I think the thing that we want to think about is to make sure that we really understand what the barriers are. If the barrier is really pricing, then lowering the pricing is absolutely, obviously a great thing to do. If the barrier is that they just can't find the products or they don't see it or convenience, then something like displaying products in the open air markets is a great solution. without lowering the prices if you know the problem is more about convenience. So that's what you have to do, is really just assess really where the issue lies. Share case studies to new customers on how his current customers have achieved savings costs. That's super helpful. I think that's really addressing the issue of being helpful in a time where people really need it, and showing them through best cases, through real examples of how you can save costs. And, you know, we could use, you know, WhatsApp group for this team to actually share those case studies and circulate them with your customers.
I think Virginia wants to add something, Ellen. Virginia,
Yep.
I unmuted you.
Yeah, this thing of getting new customers, I've been trying for a long time to get onto households, but I think we need to bring the product probably closer, because it's very bulky, so you want to have it within your target area. It would be helpful to have it closer to your target area, and then find ways of it reaching the target market, like to reach the households. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, distributing and again, it's making it really accessible, easily accessible. I think that's a great point. With households, you'll have to you have to go where they are, right? We can't expect them to come to you. So that will really cause a shift in how you you distribute or where you show and make yourself available. All right, let me just come back to this page. But certainly, new customers is a big issue for all of you now. We're going to get to that a little bit more in a few slides. Meanwhile, Dorothy also provided a lot of background about her business. So thank you, Dorothy. And for the situation with NIALOR impacts, it's a little bit different. Dorothy is really has been focused on building a brand, building a brand name. You've got both briquettes that you're selling, as well as marketing stoves, cook stoves. So you're thinking kind of big about how you can actually build the brand under one name and doing some strategic work there. However, you know, right now you've lost a lot of the income base, understandably. You know, you've told us about the economic hit that your customers are taking, where, you know, they really can't afford the cook stoves and are asking things like a $2 down payment, whereas they used to just pay $30 up front. So some serious economic pressure on your customers there. And, you know, some of them are closed as well. The street vendors that are closed, of course, and lost income. So the area that we're really focusing in on here on Dorothy's situation analysis is this fact with no income coming in, these rural households, which where she's doing her business, are reverting back to wood fuel. So the, you know, inroads made in charcoal perhaps a weakening a little bit. And one of the implications of that is, well, obviously it's hurting in the immediate term right now, but, you know, it could potentially result in a change of habits even a little bit after the crisis. So how can we prevent people switching back to wood fuel? Dorothy, I don't know if you want to say a couple of words about this.
Yes, working in the rural has been a lot challenging, and we have realized and we have seen in the recent past that most of our customers have fallen back to using firewood. So right now, it's like the biggest problem that households are trying to address is what to cook, not how to cook anymore. And this has also been contributed to by the fact that our stoves are multiple fuels. So they will save the household whether they're using briquettes or they're using firewood. So, but in order for us to sell the stoves, then we had to put this as our value for our stoves, on our stoves, sorry. So what we have tried to do currently is one, lower our prices, and then also try to call our customers and tell them the benefits of using charcoal briquettes over firewood. But we are yet to see what the results will be in the long run, because another challenge is that in Homa Bay, people cut down their trees and burn charcoal without incurring any costs. And so right now it is very hot and dry here in the rural. And so charcoal is in plenty. Charcoal is in plenty. The only advantage also we are seeing is that the local charcoal burns faster. And so the households are spending more. So we are telling them that if you can mix our briquettes with your charcoal, then the briquettes will continue burning and you'll be able to cook more with very little, unlike when you're using this normal charcoal alone. So I would like also to learn from the panel what else we can do to be able to change this situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's exactly what the question is now for the panel. So how can we help Dorothy with some answers on what you would do if your customers were switching back to wood fuel? That's the next question on Menti. I thought that was so interesting how you said you're using it almost as an extender of using wood charcoal to get through this time. Very perceptive to, I think, the reality of the situation. So we'll see what some folks have to say about this. Celia, let me know if anybody's putting responses in chat rather than this. So far, we haven't gotten any.
Okay. Oh, I see a typo. That's my fault.
All right. Well, in the sake of time, oh great, emphasize energy savings if briquettes. Okay, here we come. Here we go. Great. So emphasize the energy savings, and I think we've heard Dorothy doing a little bit of that. Yeah, there's a re-education, it seems like, that maybe is required, and interact with them and understand why the switch. Remind them of the benefits of briquettes versus firewoods, and we're going to talk. It's so true about the interact with them and understand why the switch. Really, the crux of it all is to really just be on the same page and understand what's happening with your customers. Restructure the pricing and come up with flexible pricing model for my customers. Does somebody want to talk about that? What kind of flexible pricing model you've come up with? Whoever wrote that one?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Esther. So I think maybe in this pandemic time, affordability for the fuel might be a challenge. Most people are looking for the basic needs for their homes. And maybe these customers are not able to purchase the briquette. So you can talk to them and maybe understand what I mean, are they able to pay in installments? Are they trustworthy so that they are, I mean, you can offer the products and they are able to pay in installments?
Yeah. Installments. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think these are all show a real sensitivity to the customer's issues. and trying to find a way to work with them, which I think is absolutely critical. And I think we'll also see that a lot of these aren't short-term solutions. These necessarily aren't going to turn your business on again the next day, but you've all seen that the value of really building it for the longer term.
I got a
Well, thank
couple
you.
more
Oh yeah, tell me.
comments from the chat, just so from
Yeah.
Virginia is just emphasizing the need to sensitize the customers on energy savings. And then from Muthoni, try to educate on the health benefits over firewood or charcoal, since that can be one of the main reasons for using the briquettes. Just try to get them to refocus rather than on the economics of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, a little bit more difficult now, but you know, it's that, you know, the need to continue moving forward so that you're in a better place in the future, and not lose ground in the progress that we've made in terms of that awareness of the health benefits and the value of briquettes. Well, very helpful, thank you. So just the rest of the call, I'm going to talk about just 5 ways quickly, you know, things to be really aware of as you address the customer changing needs. I continue to put questions in the chat box, but as we've seen, you know, things are changing very, very, very quickly, and we found in our businesses, as I say, this is happening across the board, but small businesses specifically are really finding that they need to shift, to do things differently. And it's what we all have to do. You have to do as well. These are just a couple of examples of things happening in the States anyway, that who would have thought that this would happen before COVID. But Zoom is 2020's hottest yoga studio. Yoga has been completely transformed in the last, you know, several months because of the, you know, the inability to go to a studio and to do it in the groups, to you know, have this community and practice that people have been used to. But it has completely shifted now, and people are doing it at home. They're using Zoom, they're using the video platforms. Zoom has made itself very conducive to it, and the quickness to just confront the reality, to change, to shift things up so that the customers can still really appreciate this important aspect, especially now with the craziness and the anxiety people have to continue their yoga practices, just shows a lot of astuteness. The same thing with this restaurant. This is a really high-end restaurant, Alinea, super expensive, 12-course meals, hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a meal. Obviously, the business went to zero. Rather than closing the doors and thinking about, you know, we'll open again someday and continue on the way they were, no, they've completely revamped, and they have takeout services at very affordable pricing, providing all sorts of ease of how to get the food with curbside pickup, and providing meals for the entire family, as everybody's eating as a family now. So really looked at the entire experience of a meal and said, how can we, as a really well-known restaurant that, you know, you respect, how can we help you in this time? You can still have a gourmet meal, even in this time of COVID from us, and we'll be back when you're ready to have your 8-course, hundreds of dollars meal. I like this phrase a lot because it's basically saying, you know, if you are used to using a certain set of tools in your business and doing things a certain way, you will continue to you know, just hammer at the same futile objectives. You need to shift it up. You need to look for other tools in your toolkit because the objectives have changed. So, you know, be open-minded, think differently, and kind of feel courageous enough to abandon how you've done things in the past, because truly the past is not a predictor of what's going to succeed in the future. So there's 5 things that we can do. 1, start with the end in mind. Have a vision. Listen and learn from your current customers. And we just saw that beautifully in those 2 examples. Seek out new customers. There is opportunity to be had at this time as well. Prioritize connection over selling. I think we heard a little bit of that as well. It's really the time to think about what your customers need over what you want. And accept the reality and take action quickly. So I'm going to just go a little bit more into depth about these in the next 15 minutes. seems crazy to be thinking about something like develop a vision statement for your business at this time. We know we're in the midst of a crisis and there's all sorts of fires to be put out. The fact is it's a great time to think about how you want your customers to think about you when this is over. In the US, we call that the North Star, which Sylvia and I were getting a kick out of because we said, oh gosh, I bet the North Star concept doesn't exist, below the equator. But this is something that we say, follow the North Star, have a point that you're always striving for. So be curious to know, maybe write in the chat box if there's an equivalent in the Southern Hemisphere for the North Star. A vision statement is truly just an image of what that desired future looks like. And it's very helpful because when you have that in your mind and when you can communicate to others, it makes it easier to make decisions and to think about, how you can solve problems. And it can be as easy as thinking about what you want people to say about you a year from now, and that is your vision. So when this is over, when you go back to your customers and what do you want them to say about you? Here's a few examples that I would imagine we'd all like our customers to think about us a year from now. That you were the most reliable supplier during a difficult time. You were the first people that you want to resume business with now that I'm back on my feet. You are people who turned a hardship into an opportunity. So I suggest you just think about that a little bit and write a statement and talk to your folks about it and say, this is really where we want to go. And that might help to just kind of dispel some of the superfluous stuff, the stuff that's really not necessary in the next year. The second area is listening and learning from your customers. And we did just hear a lot about this. There are huge studies being done around the world. This study was done with 42 countries. And unfortunately, they're not showing the African countries here, but there were 3 African countries also in the mix. And it's just important to show that trends and habits are really changing. Things are changed and they probably will remain changed, even for the long, long term. And by listening to your customers and understanding that, you can be on the cutting edge of understanding where they're going and what's going to be important to them in the future. In this slide, I think what's important is that second row. It says cleaning and sanitation, for instance, and masks and barriers. These have taken on an absolute increased importance, and it's anticipated they're going to stay that way. So when consumers are thinking about where to shop, these are going to remain really important to them. And I think that it does provide opportunity if we can be the ones that are really aware that we're never going to go back to not being really particular about the sanitized level of the shopping environment, or in your case, the cooking environment. So one is you can look for studies like this online to get a sense, but more importantly, just listen to your own customers. Just do what you guys have just said in the previous parts and think about how you can get this information from your customers. And here's a Menti question about that. What's the most important thing you want to learn from your customer? Do you have something that you feel you're still just, not still, but do you have issues that you feel are not clear in your mind? And I'm going to move on to that question. I'm going to just have this open as I move on a little bit because we are running short in time. But please write that, and then I'll come back and provide, and talk about some of the questions that you guys have put up there. The most important thing you want to learn from your customer. Oops. I'll be looking for your answers as I move on a little bit. And as we're doing that, we might ask, well, how can you do that? Easier said than done, right? I mean, that research was done in 42 countries in a very, very, very complicated and detailed way, but it's quite easy. I mean, just think about WhatsApp. Think about focus groups that you can what the future cash flow will be. Okay, sorry, I'm just looking at a response that came in. So think about starting focus group discussions on WhatsApp. Ask questions, just simply put them out there. People are always on their phone, right? Looking at WhatsApp. We know that about your markets as well. There'll be likely to share those insights with you. Engage with others, social media groups. So I think we talked about this at the convening as well, but get out there, get your name into as many social media groups as you can, and you can really probe those for learnings. Just keep you know, a list of what it is and what's important for you to understand, and go out there and seek it out. Somebody mentioned incenting people, and I agree that that is very helpful at this time. Incent people to provide feedback and thoughts. This is not bribing them to provide feedback and thoughts, but really incenting them, understanding that there's, you know, value for you in their time that they spend with you. Let's give some value back to them. And maybe there's something you could do there to get a group of people who will be willing to engage with you, you know, over a period of time, which is really helpful, because then you can build relationships with them and continue, you know, kind of expanding on learnings. So maybe a system where you get a group of people and they're going to partner with you for the next couple of months, and you're, you know, promising them discounts off, and they're earning points for every time they participate with you, and maybe providing some value for that at the end of the day. But these are really good ways to gather insights. And we think that WhatsApp is just, you know, an excellent tool to do that. It's being used around the world, and it's obviously free. We're including a link with a little bit more detail about WhatsApp, but just some of the things that you can do is there's broadcast lists with WhatsApp. So you can go out to your entire list of WhatsApp contacts with one message and send it up to 256 people. So you can send a question out there. What do you think is the most important attribute for your shopping experience, or your briquette buying experience in these days of COVID? You can send that question out to 256 people, and they will all come back to you individually with responses. You can break those out into segments. So your group of 256 people, or however many you can get, can be broken out between different kinds of customers, households or institutions or whatever. And you can use video. You can put yourself on there and ask that question in person, which makes it really, really nice and personable. But this is a really great opportunity that you have with WhatsApp. Of course, you all know about the group chats. So there you can throw a question out to a group and let the conversation happen among them. And then you're more just listening. You're hearing what they're saying without necessarily being the facilitator of it all. Again, using any kind of medium, you can photos and videos there. Also, you know, you've all played with Menti a little bit now. Go out there and look for free or low-cost polling apps that you might be able to use. You can do just what we're doing on this call, and you can use those sorts of things, which people really do like to interact with. And a lot of them have free trial periods, so you could even try it for free and then see if it's worth a little bit of an investment in the long run. But here's a few examples that you can look into. Mentimeter, Poll Everywhere is a very popular one, and Google Survey is free, so you can try that. I'm going now back to some of your responses on the most important things you want to learn during time of COVID, and you're telling us what their future cash flows will be. Yes, that's great. What's their situation? How has the current COVID situation affected them and their business, and how can my business help them cope up? Excellent question. Excellent question. You might want to think about, you know, what the pieces are, specific questions with that, because that's a big, big question. So you might just think about specifically how they could help or how they need help. The quality of briquettes that they would prefer to use for daily use. Yeah, that's a nice specific question that I think you could get some great responses for and start a good conversation.
One more is, Dorothy asks how to connect more with my customers beyond COVID. So she's looking forward.
Right. Good.
What will be the best way to connect with them?
That's great. That's great. We'll be sending all this to you. All right. The next one is seeking out new customers, and we heard about this in our situation analysis, and you know, just a good example here that we think is very similar to yours in terms of these new customers. Here's a company that was a provider, was a distributor for meat for upscale restaurants. All of their customers were commercial ventures, were hotels and restaurants, and they were completely set up that way. with a distribution channel that was set up for commercial customers, with a product that was set up for commercial customers where they would literally deliver entire sides of beef, and these mass deliveries. And of course, that business sort of disappeared from one day to the next. And very quickly, and in a fashion that wasn't fancy, they just simply, said, let's give our great quality beef to people, to individuals, to households. So they just quickly revamped their product offering so that their offering was for families, and there were small cuts of beef, and they would maybe provide for 2 weeks supply. They quickly revamped their social media and puts out daily, because they kind of never know what's going to be popular or what's going to have available. So just daily, they put out what's available in a very, no nonsense format. They're paying the system where they used to have customers that went through an extensive process of getting a credit approvals from them. Now we're individuals who are paying on Venmo, which is like M-Pesa. So just this idea of just shifting really quickly. Again, it's if all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. No, we have more than a hammer here. We can make these trucks, stop at individual homes as well as we can for hotels. So I think that's I'm sure an issue with you folks as well, as you're moving potentially from some commercial ventures to individuals. And lastly is prioritize connection over selling. Not lastly, second to lastly is prioritizing connection over selling. And I know that's a tough one because we're all in tough times, and certainly we need to get the business going, but we absolutely have to keep that long term in mind, and realize that we're sowing the seeds for that better connection for tomorrow. So here's some great examples of businesses that are really doing that. It's not necessarily helping them in their bottom line today, but absolutely creating the loyalty that we'll need to get through this crisis, where we're providing some free briquettes to some customers that really qualify for that. Putting banners out that I forgot to have the translation for this banner, but really talking about the educational aspect of briquettes, knowing that again, sales are going to dip right now, but we're going to continue to just educate and continue to get our message out there at some expense, even in this case, investing in these banners and stuff at a time that sales aren't that high, but you are still doing a good deed for the long run. And another image there of street food vendors of receiving some free charcoal briquettes to get their business going. And this customer, we can anticipate that when this is over, is going to pay back in spades in terms of their loyal business for this vendor. And then the last piece of advice is accept the reality and take action quickly. And this is from that same piece of research, and it's really talking about how habits are changing. These habits specifically are about using virtual medias and different kinds of low touch sort of activities because of COVID. So the dark blue bars are some of the habits that have really changed. And one that jumps out to me is video chat, which has gone to be absolutely an accepted behavior, absolutely something that every single person is doing and feeling very comfortable with, and is going to continue well after the crisis. So you see these things, and the message is be where your customers are, do what your customers are doing, be perceptive to it, and don't hold back. Now's the time to really be brave and to get into, I would say specifically, those social media channels and the digital channels that maybe you feel a little bit, uncomfortable with, or feel that it's unnecessary to spend the time. But now is the time to adapt. And we're going to send you some resources on how to use Twitter, on how to use Facebook, how to use WhatsApp. There's a great aspect of WhatsApp that's called the click to chat that you can put on in your Facebook or on your website, and it'll allow customers to actually just click on that link, and you'll see the message in your WhatsApp page. And then you can start a WhatsApp conversation with people, and you've got their name for future use. So it's a really, really great tool to acquire interested customers at this time, which we know is a big priority for you. So we don't have time to go into how to use all of these on this call, but we'll send you that information so that you can really, really do that. And we just like to end on saying, please, make a commitment to to take an action, to do something that maybe you were a little reluctant to do or felt you didn't have the time to do, whether it's getting that website going, getting the Facebook presence going, you know, experimenting with WhatsApp learning. And even in one case where it was really about spending some time on your branding, think about that and be creative with it. Find some young folks that, you know, aren't in school right now, who have learned about marketing and who, you know, really need some experience and may volunteer and work for free. Be creative, just take action. Now's the time, and you'll be in a great place, I think, when this crisis is past, which we hope is very soon. That's a wrap for me. I see it's 9:02, so I'll turn it over to Sylvia to wrap us up.
Ellen, do we want to do the last mentee question, or you want to just leave them with
folks, I would love to. If folks don't mind going a couple of minutes past 9 o'clock, then let me put this question up. I think it'd be absolutely great. And also, I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions.
Okay, I think let's do the last mentee question, and then
Okay.
if people want to stay on to ask questions, we'll stay on a few extra minutes.
Okay. So it should be open now. And the question is, what's the action you're most inspired to take? Yeah, just listen and take action on customer feedback.
That's good. From Dorothy in the chat box. Ellen, the rural community, especially the elderly, don't use social media. What else can I use?
Yeah. You know, probably the presence, your own presence is probably most important. I mean, maybe, you know, it's difficult, obviously, with COVID, but to just show, to be present, maybe with some signage, maybe with, I mean, I don't want to give solutions, but just think about how you can make yourself visible to them, obviously without putting yourself in harm's way, which is why things like some signage, maybe, you know, I've seen some folks, I remember a colleague that had a van that kind of had some great messaging really just written on the side of it, that wherever you saw it, you're reminded about the benefits of charcoal briquettes. But also I would say, you know, again, this is just from a distance, but don't assume things won't change really quickly about your customers not being on social media. You know, maybe take some action about learning there. Ask, because things are changing so rapidly during this time. We've seen it in all of our markets at Accenture, that customers that weren't active and didn't feel comfortable with these things or didn't have access, more and more are. So you're probably right, but I would also counsel that, like, question those conceptions, you know, all the time, because things may be changing.
And maybe that's a question that you ask in your WhatsApp,
Yeah.
Since most of them are, you know, do have availability with WhatsApp. You could reach out and find out, you know, how do they engage with social media, if at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think Dorothy earlier had suggested radio, which is probably a good way to meet.
That's right.
To get a bigger audience remotely.
That's right. Yeah. Find out more about customer needs using social media platforms like WhatsApp. Good. I think that's great. And please keep us informed about that, and you know, share your learnings there so everybody can benefit. Keeping our customers posted on our activities, collecting data from customers and listening to their current needs, situations. Absolutely. And you know, the collecting data is important too. As you get learnings and take learnings, think of a way that you can actually organize them and keep it top of mind. And as you advance and continue and get new learnings, you add it to that data. It's really easy to learn something today and then kind of forget it tomorrow when you learn the next thing. So maybe just think of some kind of a learning database, just, you know, a pad of paper where you've got all that stuff collected. It's also going to be really helpful when you do your situation analysis to have that learning handy too, and you'll go back and recall things that you may have learned 6 months ago. Online marketing and subsidizing the product. Yeah. Excellent. And look for marketing interns. Oh yes, to assist in marketing, do more marketing on social media. Absolutely. And we know that the concept of interns might not be, really popular there. So just think about it as just individuals, people that, have some time to help, some volunteers to help that maybe have got some learning there, and explain the value, and that you can provide value to them by potentially being a reference for them when the time calls, or you could, actually provide some documentation on the work they've done for you and make their resume more attractive in the future. Well, that's great.
This is great. Does anybody have any questions or want to make any comments? You can either hand raise or unmute yourself if you'd like to, or also you can put it in the chat box. We'll just give everyone a minute to think about it if they want to add anything. But there are a couple comments. I'll just relay them. On the action inspired to take, Luthoni says, displaying in the open air markets near me sounds like a good way to reach new clients. And Betty Kadu says, displaying has worked for me. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Sarah, hi Sarah, said, thanks so much for organizing. We're always beautiful knowing we have people to count on now. That's nice. Thank you, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Oh, wait. So Beatrice has her hand up. So I'm going to, let's see. Wait. Okay, go ahead, Beatrice.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for this, very insightful webinars. And I think, because we are all facing challenges. And I wanted to talk about the digital marketing strategy, social media platforms. I'm feeling that WhatsApp, it's quite overwhelming. And we are all for our different, center of interest, a member of different WhatsApp groups, or for our business activities. So, for example, I'm a member of the UBP WhatsApp group, Clean Cooking Association WhatsApp group, and we're already receiving plenty of messages. And also I'm a member of other groups. I'm practicing Tai Chi, so I'm a member of the Tai Chi group. And but what I've been facing, I don't really like using WhatsApp too much for business because you cannot track easily. I mean, I like the calling, okay, or of course emailing, or even we keep posted our customers on our progress, what we are doing, because I think it's very important during this uncertainty, sorry for my English, uncertain time, not to keep silent. I think it's very important to say, hey guys, we are still there. Even if we are facing difficulties to produce, we are feeling these difficulties for distributing or selling, we are there. The operation are still on. So I think it's important. But for WhatsApp, I'm using it mostly on a one-to-one contact. For example, if a customer is contacting me and we are organizing to deliver or whatever, briefly. But I'm finding WhatsApp very overwhelming and not easy to use, because when you want to check something, you have to go through, you have to scroll down. It's not an easy tool. I mean, for business, and when you want to track, it's not a good tracking tool. But it's my own experience.
No, it's true. WhatsApp is still it's still developed for a non-business use. That's its primary goal, and it has been adapted for business use. But they haven't really come up with a lot of ways to make it really appropriate for businesses. So it is sort of a workaround in a lot of senses, and it's a fabulous workaround. There's so many opportunities. But I agree, if you have the wherewithal to use some more, I'd say, like sophisticated tools or other platforms that you can better segment your audience, keep segmented lists, that's great. But for a lot of folks, that is the only thing. So what we want to say is, yeah, it can work. It can really work. And I think there's a little bit more there too, when you think about how you can actually create subgroups in your, I'm sorry, what was it called? I can't think about the approach where you actually send a message out to a large group of people as opposed to having one-on-one chats. So, you are able then to just kind of have a group that's maybe just for your household targets, a group that's just for your institutional targets. So you can do that, but it's certainly not the end all be all. And it sounds like you have some other things going, so that's great. And yeah, please, I think everyone, if they could get some learning from you on what you're using that maybe allows you to do it a little bit more strategically, that would be helpful.
I would just add that that's actually also, if anyone does get the benefit of an intern, that having an intern organize that WhatsApp information you're getting would be a great project, and certainly one they can do remotely. And then also using the search function in WhatsApp really helps, because otherwise you spend a lot of time scrolling around looking for something you just saw. So, just to make things a little more efficient. Dorothy had said there's a WhatsApp for business. I don't know about that, but I don't know, Ellen, if you heard about WhatsApp for business. Otherwise, I'll do a little research for the group and see if I can find out more about it.
Yeah, no, I know that they were talking about it. I didn't think that it actually had happened. So I'll look into it too. I don't know, Dorothy, is it a fee service or is it for free? Well, anyway,
I also don't have so much information, but I have seen a few of my friends in WhatsApp who have joined with a business WhatsApp. So I don't know whether you need to get another separate line, you need to get a handset for it. I really don't have any information yet.
We'll look into that. Yeah, I know they've been talking about it. Look into it and send out information. Thank you.
I have a few more questions, Ellen, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
One from Esther is, what's your view on the management of customers using CRMs, customer relationship platforms?
I mean, I think that's fabulous. I don't know if you're using one right now, but again, it's just a little bit more complex, but CRM is absolutely the best way to do it. What that will allow you to do is to, kind of segment out your audiences based on their responses. So if you send an email and they come back with a certain kind of response, like, yes, I am interested, then you can automatically think about what the next step is for them. It allows you to communicate with them as a group, but based on what their previous responses were. So you can really start to nurture different groups that are at different places, with you in sort of the journey. So your loyal customers, for instance, you're sending one set of communication. New customers, you're sending another set of communication. And it's absolutely a fabulous approach. Definitely is going to take a little bit more commitment from you in terms of managing it and having the content and the messaging to feed out to these people. But again, it's a great way forward. Absolutely will advance your business, I think. And as Sylvia keeps saying, it's something that, if you don't have the bandwidth to do right now, it could be something that you get a volunteer or an intern to work with.
And
if you are doing it,
I'm sorry, I would just add that most of them cost. I think one of the least expensive ones is Zoho, and it's a pretty good one for small business. But again, they do, like Ellen suggested before, they do almost all have trials. So you can at least try them and see if it's something you think you can manage and would really be helpful to you before committing to a subscription fee. Got another question from Grace, thanking us for the webinar, but also, she's just saying she's learned some new insights. Thanks, Grace. Sarah is making the comment that personal marketing has worked for her. She just talks to everyone and asks friends to share the flyers in their pages, which is great. Just utilizing your own network is fantastic. Grace, Grace Shisha to everyone. Thank you. I had a question regarding the increase in technological dependence for businesses during COVID-19 versus the audience that may have little or no access to social media or technology, especially during COVID pandemic. How do you go about it? And Ellen, you can touch on this. Is what we were saying before with Dorothy, but
yeah. No, it is. I mean, if they don't have the technology, then obviously, and especially at this time, maybe there's even lack of technology or than they had before. So again, it's just about understanding if that truly is the case. Then think about some things you can do with a virtual, a literal presence, that we've heard about, making awareness with those banners that we've seen, with flyers, telephone calls, certainly, but again, it depends on where your customers are at, and the fact that you're really astutely aware of where they're at. And again, there may be a few people that do have that awareness, that technology that you don't think they do. So the closer you can get with your customer, the more personalized your experience can be. And maybe there are some folks that really you can communicate virtually, but appreciate the issue.
Yeah, and I would just add that, just like here, also there, people are going to lean on a younger generation for communication when they don't have the skills themselves. So even though you may think, well, my customer is, this 45-year-old woman, she may be actually relying on her daughter to connect. And so you can connect that way anyway. In essence, she has access to social media because she's telling her teenager to, find out about something for her online.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And I would think just, to think about the younger generation and everything that you do. As we say, we're preparing for the future now is what we're spending time doing. And, I would imagine that's a real opportunity to build that awareness and education with a much younger audience than maybe you've been used to doing at this time, because they're going to be the ones preparing the males very soon.
There's a couple comments on CRMs. Beatrice suggesting that you could start out with just an Excel sheet database as your own CRM, which makes sense. And probably you all have that. If you don't, again, time for someone to organize that WhatsApp list into a more formal database, even if it's just an Excel database. And then Ziwa is mentioning that, CRM matters a lot on the size of business. And yes, that's right. So if your business is still very tiny, it probably doesn't justify the expense of a CRM. Right. But you also want to position yourself for growth. Grace is commenting something about charges, but I think that's related to WhatsApp business. And Ellen and I will look more into that going forward. Does anyone else have any other questions? Beatrice, I see your hands up, but I don't know if that was from before. If there are no other questions, we'll wrap up for now. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to say, give Ellen a big thank you. Thank you so much. She's spent a lot of time on this. I really appreciate it. It's great to have her. For me, I continue to pull her into the sector, which is great. And we really appreciate all your expertise and your ideas and helping people think outside the box. And thanks all of you for joining. I hope I'm going to, just like last time, I'm going to send out a short, 4-question survey. I hope you guys will respond just to give us a little bit of feedback on, real quick, was this good? What was missing, that type of thing. So thanks again, everyone. Again, this recording will be made available to you. As soon as I can process it, I'll flip it back to you with the slide presentations as well. So everybody have a good evening. For those of you, it's evening, most of you. And again, thanks, Ellen. We really, really appreciate everything.
Thanks for having me. It was great to hear a lot of familiar names on the phone. I'm sorry I didn't see you, but I do watch what's happening on WhatsApp. So keep the messages coming there. I love being part of it.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. I'm going to
Okay,
turn
bye.
now. Bye.